No one imagined that a peaceful afternoon could unravel with such brutality. The sunlight drifting through the window was gentle, almost affectionate. A soft breeze meandered through the curtains, carrying the faint scent of warm earth and drying laundry from the yard outside. The house felt still, ordinary, safe. Diep stood by the bedside table, a small bowl of steaming porridge in her hands. She smiled, half hopeful, half worried, as she placed it beside the bed where James had been resting since the previous night. He had brushed off her concerns the entire morning. Just a headache, he had insisted. Just work stress, nothing more, but Diep knew better. She always had. She had noticed the unusual pallor of his skin, ashen beneath the golden light. She noticed the heaviness in his breath, as though each inhale required negotiation with his body. She noticed the trembling in his fingertips every time he tried to sit up, a tremor he attempted to hide with a tired smile. Diep wanted to call the doctor again. She had suggested it twice already. But James, gentle even in weakness, had shaken his head. "It's fine," he murmured, giving her one of those soft, reassuring smiles that had always melted her worry. "Just sit with me," and she had. She sat beside him now, wringing the cloth dipped in warm water and wiping the sweat from his forehead. His skin felt too cold. His voice sounded too thin. But when he reached for her hand, she intertwined her fingers with his without hesitation. "After this week," he whispered, pausing for breath, "I'll take you somewhere quiet." "Away from everything. Just you, me, and the baby we haven't even seen yet." Her heart warmed instantly. Her free hand drifted to her stomach, resting lightly over the small life growing inside her. A life created with love, shaped by longing, and protected by all the storms they had survived. It still amazed her that something so fragile and miraculous now lived beneath her heartbeat. She opened her mouth to respond, maybe to tease him, maybe to thank him, but she never got the chance. It happened in less than a breath. James suddenly stiffened. His eyes widened, wild, terrified, empty. His hand slipped from hers. "James?" she whispered. No answer. "James?" She cried, louder now, the syllables cracking as dread surged through her. The bowl of porridge slipped from her hands, crashing to the floor, splattering across her feet, the bed, the walls, yet Diep didn't even feel it. Her world shrank into a single horrifying image. James's body jerking once, violently, then collapsing backward with no control, no resistance, no breath. His lips began to turn pale. His chest stopped moving, and the room, once filled with sunlight, warmth, and plans for the future, fell into a silence so deep it swallowed Diep whole. No, 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 James. She sobbed, shaking him, her voice splintering with terror. His heart, his strong, steady, generous heart, had stopped. It was only a few seconds. But to Diep, it might as well have been the moment the universe cracked open and swallowed everything she loved. She screamed for help, raw, primal, animalistic. Neighbors rushed in, voices blurred into chaos. Someone called an ambulance. Someone tried CPR. A neighbor held Diep back, but she tore free, throwing herself beside James, clutching his lifeless hand. Come back to me, please, James, our baby, don't leave us, don't leave me, please. Her tears soaked into the sheets, onto his cold skin, into the air that seemed to refuse to move. When the paramedics finally arrived and lifted James onto the stretcher, Diep's legs buckled. The ground felt unstable beneath her feet. Her ears rang. Her vision blurred into streaks of white and gray. She followed them out the door as though in a dream, trembling, breathless, terrified. She didn't know if James would survive. She didn't know if fate still had mercy to spare. She didn't know if the love of her life had slipped away forever. The hospital smelled of disinfectant, cold metal, and too many broken stories. It was a scent Diep had always hated but had never feared until now. She sat hunched on a hard plastic chair outside the emergency room, her fingers clasped so tightly together her knuckles turned bone white. Her clothes were still stained with the spilled porridge. Her hair clung to her tear-drenched cheeks. Her breath came in shallow shivers. All she could do was stare at the door that separated her from the man who carried her entire world in his heartbeat. Nay arrived moments later, having run from home the moment she received Diep's trembling call. She sat beside her, gripping her arm firmly. Diep. Breathe, Nay whispered. You have to breathe. For the baby, but Diep couldn't breathe. Every inhale felt like shards of glass piercing her lungs. His face, the way he collapsed. Diep choked. He promised we would leave everything behind. He said he'd be there when the baby comes. He will. Nay's voice softened. James is strong. He's fought through worse, but Diep shook her head. This isn't business trouble. Or his father. Or a ruined company. This is his body giving up. This is life or death. Minutes crawled like hours. Then, at last, the door opened. A doctor stepped out, face unreadable. Diep stumbled to her feet. How is he? She asked, voice cracking. We managed to restart his heart. Her relief was so overwhelming her knees gave out. Nay grabbed her just in time. But the doctor continued gently, he is not stable. His body went through severe shock. We need to monitor him closely. Can I see him? Diep whispered, only for a moment. The room was dimly lit, filled with steady beeps and cold machinery. The air hummed with electricity and urgency. James lay motionless, eyes closed, oxygen mask strapped to his face, skin cold, tubes and wires everywhere, connecting him to machines that were now doing the work his body could no longer manage. Diep approached slowly. James, she breathed, taking his hand, the same hand that once held hers in a wedding studio, warm and full of promise. Please come back to me. To us. I can't do this without you. For a moment, just a fraction of a second, she thought she felt a twitch in his fingers. Or maybe it was hope, fragile, trembling, hope that refused to die even when everything else seemed to. Night fell over the hospital like a heavy, suffocating curtain. The windows became dark mirrors, reflecting Diep's exhausted, crumpled figure, red-rimmed eyes, trembling lips, hair tangled from hours of crying. She refused to move from James's side. The nurses tried to coax her into resting, but she couldn't, leave. Not when every second felt like a negotiation with fate. She whispered stories to him. Memories, promises, pieces of their life stitched together with longing. Do you remember the first time you came to my house? She murmured, voice raw. You brought flowers, but you didn't know I was at the market. You stood there looking so lost. That's when I first thought, maybe you needed me. Her voice broke, and now I'm the one who needs you. Outside, footsteps approached again. Nay peeked in, eyes filled with worry. You've been awake all night, she said. You need to eat. You're pregnant. Please, you can't stay like this. If he wakes up and I'm not here, Diep whispered, he'll think I gave up on him. Nay placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. James knows your heart. He knows you don't give up. Diep's jaw trembled. His father did this, she whispered, voice shaking with anger. Years of pressure. Years of pushing him until he broke. He didn't deserve any of it. And that's exactly why he needs you now, Nay said. Love is the only thing he has left to survive for. Moments after Nay left to get food, James's monitor beeped, just slightly slower than before. But for Diep, it felt like the world dropped from beneath her. She shot to her feet. James? James, can you hear me? Nurses rushed in. One pulled Diep aside, another checked the machine. A third called for the doctor. Diep stood frozen, a trembling hand covering her mouth. This fear was different, sharper, colder, because this time, she could feel it. Life was slipping through his fingers again. The alarm shrilled through the room, heart rhythm dropping. Prepare the crash cart. We're losing him. Diep's knees buckled, but she forced herself to stand, clutching the wall for support. No, no, please, she whispered. James, don't leave me. A nurse tried to guide her out. But Diep fought her off. Don't take me away, she cried. He needs me. James needs me. Her body shook violently. Tears streamed down her face. But she pressed herself into the corner, refusing to leave, even when fear twisted inside her like a knife. The defibrillator pads were placed on James's chest. 1, 2, clear, his body jolted. Nothing. Charge to 200. Clear, another jolt. Nothing. A suffocating dread settled over the room. Even the medical staff hesitated, just for a breath, as if wondering whether hope still had a place here. Diep stepped forward, tears falling onto the floor. James, she whispered. Do you remember your promise? You said you'd stay with me. You said you'd hold our baby. You can't break that promise. Not like this. Not without saying goodbye. Something shifted. Not in the machines. Not in the sounds. In the air. A fragile warmth. Barely there. But enough. Charge again. 250. 1, 2, clear. The shock hit him. Then, a sound. A faint, fragile blip. Then another. Heartbeat returning, stabilizing. Diep gasped, collapsing into the chair, sobbing with relief that felt almost violent. The doctor turned to her, wiping sweat from his brow. He's not out of danger, he warned gently. But he heard you. Somehow, he fought his way back. 8. What love refuses to lose. Diep took James's hand again, warm now, still weak, still fragile, but alive. I knew you'd come back to me, she whispered through tears. The world outside the hospital kept turning, indifferent to their suffering, unaware of how close she had come to losing everything. But inside that room, surrounded by wires and monitors and the faint hum of renewed life, Diep understood something profound. Life tests the heart in ways we cannot predict, sometimes gently, sometimes mercilessly. James and Diep had survived judgment, rejection, misunderstandings, and the crushing pressure of family expectations. They had endured storms that would have broken lesser hearts, but their love, stubborn, imperfect, fiercely loyal. had carried them through, and now, when death itself had tried to rip them apart, that same love had called James back from the edge. Love does what logic cannot. Love reaches where machines cannot. Love becomes the anchor when everything else falls apart. James returned because Diep gave him a reason to hold on. Diep survived heartbreak because love gave her strength to hope. And together, they proved that when two hearts truly choose each other, even the darkest moment cannot extinguish their light.